Thank you for the kind introduction. So I will start with giving a background on the company. I have this slide. I was giving this presentation in Montreal to a bunch of international students, and they thought Manulife, it's a bicycle company because all the bikes in Montreal are sponsored by Manulife. So we're not a bicycle company, we're an insurance company. We've been around for more than 100 years, and also we've been around for 100 years or more in Asia, so that's quite interesting. In terms of where we derive our income, it mostly it's kind of divided between US, Canada, and Asia is divided equally. And in terms of businesses that we do all the sexy stuff in financial services, so insurance, group benefits, and investments. Now, okay, so how we actually apply AI within Manulife. So there's around 120 data scientists within the company. Around 30% are PhDs. So we are lower than layer 6. I think I calculated around 38%. So I think we should hire some PhDs from layer 6. That would be the right strategy. And we apply AI across the whole company. So it's not that we apply AI, just in investment or maybe just in underwriting. We apply it across marketing, finance, HR, really everywhere. And one cool thing that we do is that we set up center of expertise if we find a certain subject to be important to our strategic goals. And examples will include the natural language processing, so that's something that is done in my team, but also we have one for graph analytics, for claims, and for fraud detection. We're well integrated within the AI ecosystem in Canada, so we're partners with Vector, obviously, but also with Mila and Waterloo AI. In the next slide, I'm going to give you a kind of a brief introduction into 3 use cases of the problems that we work on. I will not go into too much detail. I don't want to get chased from the stage by our legal department, but you'll get an idea of what we do. I guess my main message is, so in my team, there's around 20 people, and we have around 40 projects. And at a whole company level, we probably have 200 different AI-related projects. So it's a really big initiative, really transformative initiative for our company. Okay, so every single AI or machine learning presentation needs a fraud detection. And I'll tell you the secret why. And the reason is, historically, fraud detection worked either through random sampling, so you randomly sample transactions to investigate, or through a rule-based model. So let's say all the transactions higher than $10,000 will be investigated. And because you had already existing business process to verify a list of transactions, when data scientists came over, what they did, they just said, okay, we're going to give you a better list. And we're going to use our techniques, which work really well, to give you a better list. So we integrated really well into existing processes. And that's one of the reasons why fraud detection has been so successful with AI. In our case, we apply fraud detection to, among other things, to transactions that originate online. The way we do it, we would build a profile of your online activity. So we would calculate from where you connect, what's the distance between your logins. We would look at what times, how quickly you move your mouse around your screen. And then we would apply an anomaly detection model. And based on that, we would find transactions that are anomalous, and those transactions will go into the investigation. The second use case is one of anti-money laundering, and this is more of a use case of graph analytics. And when you think about anti-money laundering or money laundering in general, you probably think, El Chapo and $100 million in cash in his basement. But the problem is way more common than you think. So imagine that imagine a small restaurant or a small grocery shop where someone takes cash and doesn't give you a receipt. So probably what they might be doing, they might be trying to avoid sales tax. And they end up with a bunch of cash, and what do? They want to now buy, let's say, a car or a house with it. they need to somehow put it into the financial system because you can't really pay, $500,000 for a condo with cash. So what they will do, they will try to put that money into the system, but somehow obfuscate the way it's going to end up in their account. So here you have an example of such a scenario. So on the left-hand side, you have two folks for which a rule-based system generated a STR, Suspicion Transaction Report. So the reason why it was generated, they had a large withdrawal. So let's say they tried to withdraw 100K. Now, when analysts start to analyze a case like this, what they will do, they will start to try to connect the dots, where that money came from. So they will try to look for same phone number, same home address that may connect that people to some other folks. And they will find a group of people on the right-hand side. So you have 3 more people connected to a phone number, connected to a home address, connected to a joint account, which is in green. And once you continue to build up that community, you will also find transactions where the money is coming in on the, into those accounts. Because they're joint, then it can go into the other accounts, and you have kind of a circle. Very often, the people on the right-hand side, they never exist. They are created using a fake IDs, and they share the address because you would want to verify, they would need to provide a real address to verify certain documents or to receive phone calls from the bank. Why this is relevant for AI and machine learning? Because what we do, we would build it for every single transaction for every single customer. So imagine we build it in real time for hundreds of thousands of people for probably millions of transactions. And we would run those community detection first, algorithms to find the groups of people, and then we'll look for circles where that money makes a circle within the financial system, and that might be a potential money laundering scheme. Okay. The final use case, I'll talk a bit more about this one, is on call center. So in a call center, you probably find it funny, but the last thing you want to get are phone calls, because the phone calls are expensive. You have to hire people to take them, and people, when they're calling, they're probably already upset. So this is not a great customer service. So there's a lot of initiatives within the call center to reduce the number of calls you're getting. And I'll kind of give you an idea how a data science project comes around in a setting like a call center. So typically the business will come to us and they will, come up with a problem. Because we have 30% PhDs, we'll come up with a really smart answer, which business will typically not like. And we will then come up with something better, like transcribing the calls. So in our case, we will transcribe every single call, and we will try to look for call reasons within those calls. So when you start thinking about this problem, you quickly realize it's quite difficult. So what you will find is there's a high noise to information ratio. So imagine that our website is down, and that word, that sentence, the website is down, is only going to be mentioned once in a 20-minute conversation, because there is authentication, there is a discussion what that person wanted to do on the website but couldn't, but the actual reason is a very short sentence within a big chunk of information. So that's one problem. There are hundreds of call reasons why people call, because typically we get millions of calls per year. And even within one call, there will be multiple reasons. Because you call to change your address, then you change your, you want to change your phone number, maybe change what you're paying for. And finally, the translation are not perfect. So we're using state-of-the-art tools from Amazon to transcribe our calls. But when a guy like me calls with a name like mine, even Amazon will not be able to get it correctly. So once we have the data, we'll massage it. As mentioned previously, we'll remove all the short calls because they will not have enough information. We'll do all the standard kind of NLP cleaning, and we'll go into modeling. And now with the call center, what you quickly realize, at the level of call center, you cannot get any insights. Because just too many calls, there is effects of seasonality, there's new products we're launching, we might be sending some mail to people which will cause a spike in calls. You will not get anything. So what we did in this particular project, we start to categorize the calls before doing any analysis. So the way we would categorize, we would first do it by line of business. So let's say life insurance in our case, then by a product. In our case, that's vitality. And finally, at the last level, we'll do it at the level of an issue. So that would be a registration issue or a website issue. What is cool about this, that then you can track all those reasons, call reasons, at the granular level. So you can tell how many registration issues there are per month for vitality. And what is the NPS, which is the customer satisfaction score within those calls. You can prioritize your work based on the NPS. So you will try to fix or target the reasons that lead to the worst calls. Once you are in these small buckets, you have maybe 2,000, 3,000 calls in those. Then you run your topic modeling, your NLP algorithms on top of that, and then you get your insights, and you go to the business, and you propose some changes. So you tell them, if you, let's say, fix issues with your website, you'll be able to reduce the number of calls by, let's say, a few thousand a month, which will save you X amount of dollars. What is good regarding that classification we did, categorization of the calls, is then in 3 months, once business does it, you can then look, okay, what was the impact of that? Because you're tracking this every month. And again, at the level of call center, your calls might be going, everywhere because of all the seasonality and other stuff. And this kind of concludes what I want to say. Obviously, I came here partially for hiring reasons. So we're hiring for a bunch of positions if you're interested. And this is the picture from our headquarters, our Younger Bloor. And the people say that grass is not always greener on the other side, but I think our grass is pretty green. Okay, thank you.